Most people think becoming a Roman soldier would have been incredible. You'd wear legendary armor, conquer distant lands, and march beneath the banners of the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. It sounds like the adventure of a lifetime. But if you had actually enlisted in a Roman legion, reality would have hit you very quickly. Long before you ever faced an enemy, the Roman army had already found countless ways to make your life miserable. Your day begins before sunrise. A horn echoes through the camp, and within minutes, everyone is awake. There are no lazy mornings, no comfortable beds, and no hot breakfast waiting for you. Instead, you roll up your blanket, gather your equipment, and prepare to march once again. Yesterday's aches haven't disappeared, and tomorrow will almost certainly feel the same. Before taking a single step, you have to carry almost everything you'll need: your shield, your helmet, your armor, your sword and dagger, food, cooking equipment, spare clothing, digging tools, water, even sharpened wooden stakes used to defend the camp later that evening. Historians estimate that a legionary's marching load often fell somewhere between 30 and 45 kilograms, depending on the period and campaign. It was so exhausting that Roman soldiers earned the nickname Marius's mules, comparing them to pack animals rather than elite warriors. Then the march begins. Roman armies depended on speed and discipline. A normal day's march could cover roughly 20 to 30 kilometers, while urgent situations demanded even longer forced marches. The roads are dusty. The weather changes constantly. Your shoulders burn beneath the weight of your equipment, and blisters begin forming long before the day is over. Falling behind isn't really an option, because the legion keeps moving whether you're exhausted or not. Finally, after hours of marching, the order comes to stop. Surely now it's time to eat and sleep. Unfortunately, the hardest work of the day may only be beginning. Before anyone rests, the legion builds a fortified camp. Thousands of soldiers dig trenches, pile earth into defensive walls, sharpen stakes, raise tents, and organize roads inside the camp. This wasn't something they only did occasionally. It became standard Roman practice because a fortified camp greatly reduced the chance of being surprised during the night. Imagine finishing a marathon and then being told to build a small fortress before dinner. By the time you're finally allowed to eat, you're already exhausted. But don't expect a grand Roman feast. The foundation of a soldier's diet was grain, usually wheat, which often had to be ground by hand before it could become bread or porridge. Depending on supplies, there might also be cheese, salted meat, olive oil, vegetables, or a vinegar-based drink called pasca. Some days the food was decent. Other days it was repetitive, bland, or limited by whatever the army's supply wagons managed to deliver. An empire may have fed you, but it certainly didn't spoil you. As miserable as the food could be, disease frightened soldiers even more. Roman armies gathered thousands of men into crowded camps where sanitation wasn't always ideal, especially during long campaigns. Clean water could be difficult to find. Waste attracted insects. Dysentery spread quickly, while malaria threatened armies operating in certain regions. Cuts that seem minor today could become life-threatening infections. Many campaigns lost large numbers of soldiers without fighting a single major battle. Sometimes the deadliest enemy wasn't standing across the battlefield. It was already inside the camp. If disease didn't get you, your officers might. Roman discipline became famous because commanders expected absolute obedience. Serious crimes, such as desertion, abandoning your post, or mutiny, could bring severe punishments, including execution. One punishment became especially infamous: decimation. Although it was extremely rare, its reputation terrified every soldier. 1 man out of every 10 was selected by lot, and the remaining members of the unit carried out the execution themselves. The punishment wasn't used often, but everyone knew the stories, and the fear alone helped keep entire legions under control. Eventually, the battle arrives. Modern movies often show dramatic one-on-one duels, but real combat looked nothing like that. Dust filled the air. Men shouted over one another. Shields crashed together. Commands became difficult to hear. Success depended far less on individual heroics than on discipline and teamwork. If the formation held, the legion had a chance. If it broke, panic could spread in moments. Surviving the battle wasn't the end either. You still had to repair your equipment, stand guard, care for the wounded, and prepare to march again.
So yes, if you survived years of brutal marches, deadly battles, harsh punishments, disease, and exhausting labor, you might earn land, money, and the title of a Roman veteran. But millions never made it that far. Behind every great Roman conquest stood ordinary men carrying impossible loads, following impossible orders, and hoping they would live to see home again. The Roman army built one of the greatest empires in history. But if you were the one wearing the armor, it probably didn't feel glorious at all.